Andrew Michelmore, you see a lot of more than China than most Australian businessmen, and especially on the mining side. What are you seeing for the base metal markets, and especially copper over there, with what you're talking about, the middle class has grown and demand is sort of shifting from that industrialisation phase?
I'm quite positive about the long term. Definitely the growth in public housing, growth in infrastructure needing copper. But it also needs zinc. Steel will go with that, and also nickel with the stainless steel and aluminium. So I think that's quite positive. I think what we're seeing at the moment is the clamp down on the bubbles. There's the bubble of cash that was out there that people then went and invested in stocks of copper, trying to cash in on the contango. The housing side, the private housing side, where lots of people own 3 apartments, live in one, don't sell the other apartments because the price is in contango. So I think what we're seeing at the moment is trying to squeeze that down and get it back to a sensible number. And in doing that, it's taking off the demand side for base metals. And on the other side, the supply side, copper's been tight in supply until recently, but now you're seeing projects come through. So I think the sentiment on copper has dropped because of that potential oversupply and the drop in the demand. But on that one, we're quite positive because we don't think as much supply will come through. The funding for it, the timing of the projects, you're seeing projects like Oyu Tolgoi not produce the tons. You've got the issues in Indonesia. You've got the general hiccups around the world. So I think the supply side won't be as tight. So my view is there'll be a period of up and down about this level for the next 12 to 18 months, and then it'll settle down and start increasing.
Okay. Obviously, you've brought into a copper project in Peru. You're hoping that won't face these sort of supply problems?
We've got another 18 months to complete the project. Yep. It won't be up until the second half of next year, anticipate from the Glencore program. So we think the timing actually could be very good for us, that we actually build through this uncertainty period, and as that settles down, we actually come into production. If that works, it'll be fantastic.
Yeah. And this phase now, where the demand in China is maybe shifting from construction into more consumables that we're hearing, especially from BHP. Which base metals is that going to favour if you believe that scenario?
Look, I think that's certainly the copper. Yeah. Electronics, household goods and the like, air conditioners, refrigerators, everything along that line, and electrical components in it. So copper is very strong. Aluminium should do fairly well, but they've got massive production of aluminium. Zinc coating for corrosion resistance. Interesting, cars in China, less than 10% of the cars are zinc coated for corrosion resistance. In the rest of the world, it's over 80%. So we're starting to see this as the durability, the quality, the life cycle cost of goods comes through as the quality picks up and the middle class grows. They're demanding a better quality, a longer life. That's very good for zinc as well. So I think we're well positioned in a couple of those. On
Las Bambas, I think you said you spent $6 billion on it and another $2 billion planned on the construction, is that correct?
The purchase price was $5.85 billion.
Yeah.
That was the cost up to the 31st of December last year. They're spending about $120 million per month at the moment. So when we finally settle, let's say August, we will pick up that additional cost. And there's about the projection by Glencore was completion in the second half of next year. So you can do the sums about the sort of rates of spending. So there's well over $2 billion from that purchase price date to that completion that needs to be spent. So it's a large project, and that's why we need to get in there as fast as we can and be aware of what's going on and ultimately run with it.
Yeah. And when a company like Minmetals looks at that sort of investment, that magnitude, what are they looking at as far as returns go? Do they have a similar view to a Western mining company maybe?
Yes, most definitely. When we do valuations on it, we run the models. We use an 8 to 10% discount rate. We run various scenarios of prices of copper, a forward curve, dropping off, what's the low in the cycle going to look like? Would we still generate cash during that? So we'll use a number of things. Our weighted cost of capital is less than those discount rates, but that we use for extra credit for being able to pay it off quickly. We don't cash that in right up front.
Okay. And lastly, Andrew Michelmore, you mentioned iron ore prices and the effect that pollution control in Beijing is having on that. Do you sort of see maybe a lull driven by this pollution control, and also factors you're saying are affecting base metals, which may be starting a boom in a few years' time?
Look, I wouldn't say a boom. I would say that it's sort of getting the house in order, getting rid of the old technology, getting rid of the energy efficiency is also key. You know, the cost of energy and availability of energy in China, and the air pollution that goes with that old technology. Do you renovate an old smelter, putting good money after bad, or do you actually shut that down and keep the investments into new, higher quality, cleaner technology? That's what I'm seeing the move go.
And do you think China's steel production will keep rising?
I think it's still growing at 7%. On a 10 trillion economy, that's a lot of growth. So I think the physical amount, yes, they'll still keep growing, but even if they kept growing by the same amount each year, that's a lower growth rate. Okay. So I think people get wound up in, look at their growth rates dropping. Yeah, but the Australian businesses, the miners here are producing absolutely flat out. They're selling every tonne they can produce. But you sort of, it's slowing down. You must not be able to sell it. No, that's not the case.
Thanks very much for your time, Andrew.
That's a pleasure, man. Cheers. Thank you.